everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. For today's video, it is a long overdue video. So many people have been commenting, what do you like better, retail pharmacy or hospital pharmacy? So for today's video, I am just going to break down for you guys the differences really between retail and hospital, and then give you guys my personal opinion on what I like better. I have a notebook of all the points I wanted to talk about because I will just scramble on and on because I could talk about this all day. So first things first, I'm going to explain to you guys the differences between a retail pharmacy and hospital pharmacy. And we have a visitor. We have a visitor. Say hello. Anyways, the difference between retail and hospital pharmacy, I'm going to start with retail. Retail is obviously at like a CVS, a BJ's, a Walmart, and hospitals obviously at the hospital. On a normal day, basically you are just packaging all the medications for patients. Like when you go pick up your script at CVS, that's basically what you're doing. You're putting them in bottles, your patients or your customers come and pick them up. They tell you their name, you give them to them, and they go. With retail pharmacy, there's 5 stations: counting, pickup, drop off, drive through, and the person that's pulling for the counter. So usually about 5 different stations. You usually rotate throughout the stations throughout the day. Pickup is the section where, obviously, think of yourself when you're going to pick up your prescription. Go to the counter, give them your name, date of birth. The person takes that information down, comes up on the screen, what they have filled, what bin it's in. You go to that bin, grab them, they're already stapled together, don't have to do anything like that. You give them to the patient, they call it a day, pay for it, whatever. Drop off is basically where there's any insurance issues, new customers that don't have profiles. Also, it's the queue, what we called it at CVS. So the queue is basically all the scripts, electronic scripts that are getting sent in from doctors' offices. So you kind of have to clear the queue throughout the day in order for them to go to the counter. And the counter is the person that counts out the meds, like the quantity, day supply. They put them in the bottle, put the stickers on the bottles and all that. And then the puller is somebody who basically goes in the aisles. You know, when you guys get your scripts and they usually have the little pamphlet that says your last name and like what the script is. We basically get those printed out on the printer. The puller or the counter will fold them all up how they're supposed to, and then you have them kind of in your hand like a pamphlet, and you go in the aisles, pull the medications into a basket. You take the whole bottle and then you give it to the counter, and then that's when the counter kind of sorts through it. Okay, Xanax for this patient. Then you start counting it, call it your day. I'm moving my hands so much. Puller also, you know, if there's a wrong medication or something, the counter will kind of usually, for the most part, I worked in a very busy retail, so this is also based off my busy retail experience. Puller will also, if there's like an error with medication, you give it back to the puller and they'll go grab it for you. They're also usually like a pickup too, so if the line gets too long, you go and you help pick up. And then drive-through is obviously just exactly like pickup, it's just drive-through, so you're standing at the drive-through. And then we also have something called return to stock, which is basically when a patient's or customers don't come for, I think it's 14 days, we have to put it back on the shelf. So we create labels to cover the patient's name and everything, and then it'll be like Lexapro 10 milligram, you know, filled on this day and how long we can keep it. So a bunch of different stations, you basically just rotate through them throughout the day. I will say though, from my experience, rotating is usually never consistent from where at least I came from. You'll have someone who counts all day, you'll have someone who is only on there for an hour because they don't like, there's a lot of switching around. And then that's basically retail. So it's kind of just like a bunch of stations that you're working at. There's so many different positions that you could be at a hospital. But if you're just being like basic central pharmacy where you're running the scripts up to the floors, I will explain that because that's what I've done. So basically you're downstairs, for me at least, I think a lot of hospitals, and there's a lot of different stations. There's big I forget what the machines are called off the top of my head, but there's basically big machines that are already stocked with the medications and bins. a label will print, and it's basically like a replenishment of the hospital's floor machines. So at the hospitals, on each unit, there's a few different machines. We call them Pyxuses, and it's basically where all the medications are locked. So, you know, when you're in the hospital, the nurses just go to the machine. They don't have to go all the way down to the pharmacy. So they just go to the machine on their floor, open it up, get the medication that they need, and then they call it a day. So central pharmacy is basically just stocking all of the floors. So the system will kind of let us know when the stock is running low, and basically we're pulling those medications to go on these floors and fill up all the Pyxuses. A lot of it too, there's IV, which is basically the IV room. You're obviously doing IV bags all geared up all day and just in there doing that all day. And then there is inventory. So there's people who literally just do all the unboxing, because we get like loads and loads and loads and loads of medications every single day. So it's people just making sure the right amount are in, all that stuff. And then there's also compounding, which is the solution medications, which is like crushing up pills and this and mixing certain things to get a solution to get, you know, liquid form of medications. So two completely different things. I also forgot to mention, for retail, we also have inventory trucks. So which is like every Friday, when it's 1 or 2 people will get a big load in, and then they stock all the shelves. Another thing I want to talk about is environmental and the differences between the two from my personal experience. Retail is an insane amount of stress. It is absolutely insane. I worked at a very high volume store that was not put together very well. Nobody really worked together. Not everybody was trained on each station. It's very, very important. No, hold on. Okay, sorry guys. So it's very, very important that everybody is trained on each station. The more that people are trained on each station, the better the flow of the pharmacy. And it's also fair, so someone's not constantly at pickup their entire shift. But my personal experience, environmental CVS was super stressful. When you are the counter especially, or the runner of like getting all the medications, we used to have 20 pages a day, and there's about 15 patients on each page. And then there's times of the promised time that this medication it should be done by. And then there's also things like acute meds, things that are coming from the hospital. So then we have to assume, okay, these people are going to be coming in any day. These aren't maintenance meds. There's about 15 patients on each page. 20 pages is horrible. Oh my God, why does it keep doing that? So it's basically like a time crunch. So you're literally sitting there scanning meds, pouring them, slapping the label on, putting in it, and then putting it in a basket, giving it to the pharmacist. They check it and all that. And then the worst part about retail is, like, say it hits 2 o'clock and you have 3 pages of medications that were all due by 3 o'clock, your entire queue is just gonna be red and like blinking, basically saying like, hurry up, you're getting behind. And the more behind you are, the more slower everything kind of runs. So can be super stressful. Customers are also very rude, I noticed. It's not usually a sense of urgency or a sense of empathy. It's kind of just like, oh, like, I'm here for my meds, like, where are they? I've had people throw stuff at us, yell, threaten to hurt us. I've had people even get hurt before. Like, I've heard stories of it from people just like throwing things at them. And then you also have like a lot of people who may be like addicted to medications and like super like, I need this now, and like freaking out. And sometimes there are doctors that send prior authorizations to their insurance, so then it's like $600, and they're like, I can't pay that, and then that's gonna take a few day process, and it doesn't happen on the weekend. So retail, extremely stressful. Hospital is completely different. I don't feel stressed on an everyday basis. If I'm stressed, it's literally because like one of my patients is literally dying and I'm sad. It's not like people are being mean to me. Of course, we always have some people who are grumpy, but I feel more, it's like for a right reason, essentially. Like, these people are very sick and in the hospital, especially on holidays, their birthdays, they're unhappy. A little bit different, hospital versus retail. Hospital is more of a stressful thing in a sense of like, oh my God, like people might be dying. I have to run to these floors to make sure like everyone's getting their medications, and stat medications are super scary sometimes, because that's when you get an ED call, basically like someone's coding or there's something, stroke, where they need an important medication. So you have to make it in the IV bag really fast. And then you have to basically sprint it upstairs within 15 minutes, have someone, you go in the trauma room. It's two different, completely different stresses. I was more stressed at work because it's like we're constantly short-staffed. It seems like corporate never knows how a pharmacy actually works and the hours that we should be provided. They're constantly crunching and trying to shorten the hours, shorten staff, have only 2 people on during this time, and it's like you can't open a pharmacy with 2 people. Like, you need to get ahead of the game. You need, if anything, have more people in the mornings and less at night. Then you also have to worry about rushes and stuff. So retail pharmacy was definitely a lot more stressful. They constantly want you to work more. You work 8 to 5, 8 to 6, and then they're like, can you stay longer, because we're so backed up and we're behind. Hospital is more just like, I had a really sad case today, or I saw a really sad thing, or because we have to see these things and read in the chart and stuff. For my position now, I'm at MHT. That's the kind of differences with stress and environment, I would say. And then another thing I have written down is career ladder. I think both of them, you could really be higher up in the career ladder. Like, I've already gotten promoted essentially to a higher up position at the hospital, and that was about 8 months after my hire date. And at retail, I was promoted 5 months after hire. So with retail, you can be a technician to a lead technician to an inventory specialist to even like a trainer, like a district trainer. So basically you could end up training the new hires and stuff. For hospital, we have so many different positions. So you have like the central, which is the basic, bringing the medications up all day. And then you have compounding, which you can get trained in. And you have IV room, which obviously you can get trained in, and that's more money. You have inventory specialist. I forget what it was really called though. It wasn't called inventory. They were called something else. I can't even remember off the top of my head. I don't know about their pay. I would say both of them definitely have opportunities to grow. I think when I started retail, I was making around $14 an hour. And then when I was a lead tech, I was promoted to $19 an hour, I believe it was. So definitely could make good pay. And I also was inventory specialist at one point. So especially, it depends on how long you've been there. I was only at CVS for about a year, I think it was in total, maybe a year and a half. Every hospital and retail pharmacy is going to be very different, but from my personal experience, hospital had higher pay and better benefits. My hospital will pay for me to get my degree, and also that obviously gives you the opportunity to, if I want to become, like, let's say I'm going to become a nurse in a few years, they will promote me then from pharmacy to nurse, and then that's always obviously great to have. They also have really amazing benefits, my hospital personally, and good pay and stuff. CVS did have benefits and stuff, but just not as good as insurance and benefits as the hospital did, which like I said, can really vary from state to state. So I think the final question is retail or pharmacy, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely love hospital, but there are days where I'm just like want to go in that go mode of just like counting up pills and just getting the job done fast and clearing the queue. It was just something about like scanning something, and once you're like complete with it, having it go away and like trying to beat that time, that really just like, my days flew by. But I've also never worked in a slow pharmacy, so I don't know if I'd be able to say the same thing if it was a slower pharmacy. But I always think of like working per diem at one of our retail pharmacies by me, just to like help them out, because I think pharmacies are super overwhelmed, and honestly the more help that we can get, the better. And essentially that just means the better for our customers and our patients. Even hospitals are definitely understaffed. So I would say I definitely love hospital. I didn't 100% love retail, but only for the aspect of like how customers would kind of treat us sometimes, and the stress of like everyone not being trained as well as they should have, and also like just the overworking or cutting everyone's hours randomly, and corporate not really knowing what it's like to work in a pharmacy. I would have to say at the overall, I do like hospital more, but I do enjoy retail as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If there's any questions, feel free to comment them below or reach out to me on one of my social medias. Look at how cute this sweet boy is. see you guys in the next video.